Hey everybody, it's Chuck, and I have a couple guests in here. For those of you that saw some of my tweets on X last night, we had a great event last night at University of North Florida with the World Affairs Council hosting Walter Isaacson and talking about the Elon Musk book. And having read the book, Walter nailed it, of course, telling all the really, really great stories. Didn't quite spoil the whole book, but it kind of just enough of a teaser to make those that hadn't read it probably get through it. But I haven't made a video today on my unprotected left turns, and the two folks in the car with me thought they would really enjoy taking a ride with me. You guys want to say hi?
Sure, yeah. David Spur.
Steve Wallman.
All right. And these
Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, and Steve came all the way from
Madison,
Wisconsin. So I was like, if you came all the way down here, you got to do the unprotected left. Because we talked last night, and you were like, Chuck, I know about your turn. I'm like, well, then let's go do it. Here we go.
Couldn't be more excited.
It is 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, so rush hour is over. So this could be light traffic, but we are going to engage it, and here we go. So you guys are just going to kind of watch what I've been doing on videos, but this is the fence and the obstruction that the car has to creep around. It stops for the stop sign. It can't see yet, but it has to get out there. And if you notice there's a median it can go, and now it can't go. It needs to stop right there. Okay, now it can see. There's a nice gap here, and it looks like it's going to do a roller completely all the way. It's not going to stop in the median. Let's see if it goes to the middle lane. It's been going to the middle lane, and it goes to the middle lane. But it did it.
Unbelievable.
What do you think about that middle lane behavior? I love to ask people about this because it annoys me. I don't think that's the way it should do. I think it should go to the left lane.
Sounds logical.
I know it doesn't bother. The middle lane doesn't bother me, but I will say it's absolutely amazing to do this. To have watched that turn so many times, and now to live it, and
yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it, and we'll do a couple more now. See if we can get some slugs of traffic like this. It could get actually interesting, but this is kind of my routine. I come down here and do a U-turn and flip it around and set it back up. Typically, I don't record all of this part of the turn, but we'll try another one in a few seconds. So this straightaway here allows cars for a speed limit of 45 to go much faster than that, which creates a closing gap challenge for the oncoming Tesla to measure that distance accurately. If everybody was going 45, it wouldn't be as challenging as someone on a motorcycle trying to make that green light up there, perhaps going 80 or 70. But that's kind of the situation. But here we go, round two. Round one was a winner. A lot of things going on the screen here. See that blue line? That's the median network where it's planning on going if it can't make it all the way across. All right, see this fast coming truck here? Mm-hmm. And it's gonna go all the way. Interesting. And he had to go around looking back. And it went that. So that was aggressive because that truck was going a little bit fast. My rear end was sticking out in the median a little bit. He actually had to swerve around me. You're probably not going to get that on camera because I don't have the drone going.
That one a fail. It's a backseat.
Would you have disengaged?
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys are in the front. I'm in the back. I mean, I know the
well, you were looking right.
Yeah.
You were looking right at the car coming toward us, and we were looking left.
Yeah. So there were two options we had there, and the interesting dynamic that we don't hit a lot on that turn was the way that car was coming into the turn lane that blocks the view for the driver, but at the same time the car has to decide, wait a minute, is that car actually going in that turn lane and turning around, or is it just... So there was...
That part was smooth. That was a good, just the leaving the butt out there, and that guy had to move around. Not fun.
Yeah, had there been heavier traffic, I probably would have nudged the accelerator further into the median to get my rear end out of there.
Did you do the accelerator there?
I didn't touch anything on that one. Nope. That was completely FSDBeta version 11.4.7.3. Yeah. All right, let's knock a couple more out. See what we think.
Interestingly, there was no traffic behind the truck. You could have, if we were driving, we probably would have waited.
So that's the camera range question, to where I personally treat the car as if it's like 200 myopic.
Right.
It can see a certain amount of distance, but it can't see as far as our eyes can see, 1,000 meters. I feel like it's got like a 300 meter range, and it made that decision without really assessing what was behind the truck. it just sort of made it on what was right in front of it to say, can I make it in front of that truck? It doesn't quite have logic to say, but should I wait until after that truck because it's even easier? That is definitely a feature I think that we get here. All right, round 3, we're calling 1-1. Davis called that last one a fail from the back seat, which is okay. And stopping here, and I'm seeing some traffic, but I can't see how far yet. So how are you with how far it's going out comfortable wise, Steve? Do you feel it's...
I'm fine.
You're fine.
This is really a good one.
But you know you're leaning forward, right? And guess where the B pillar is? Behind my head.
Right.
Now here's a gap. See how the car's closest to the fence? They just start to pop into range here. And now see that creep? Why did it creep? Now I would call this that Jeep is making this median gap even smaller. Is it gonna go? Okay, and it did fine, and it can go all the way with a roller here. And in the middle lane.
Still the middle lane?
So I think that was actually a good decision matrix with that Jeep actually shrinking its window because it now had to wait on the Jeep to commit to the turn versus had it just zoomed past me, that gap would have been a little bit bigger, but it was fine. The acceleration in the medium was fine. I'm calling that one a win.
Boy, it's like a perfect test case. Now, are there any other test cases out there that are this enticing? You know, between the 4 diamonds or the 4 signs as you're coming out, the train, the oncoming cars,
the narrow roads,
stoplights.
The narrow roads is something that it's not as challenging because there's not high speed cross traffic, but the car is not comfortable with really, really tight roads. When it doesn't look like there's room for 2 cars, it just stops and lets the other car go around it. Yet a driver would see, hey, I got another foot to the right, but the Tesla won't use that 1 foot to the right. When I was in San Francisco 2 weeks ago and took a drive with Omar in a Waymo, that Waymo with those LiDARs on there, it was happy with 2 inches of tolerance going around a semi-truck. So it was much more comfortable with tight zones, and it just has to be due to the precision of the LiDAR system at this point. Vision could get there, but right now Tesla's not letting it get that close.
You think it was literally 2 inches?
I'll let you watch the video if you hadn't watched it. I put up in the... It was closer than Omar and I were kind of screeching in the car going, you got to be kidding me. It was unbelievably close. It was one of those scenarios, I don't know if you've ever seen it, where the Tesla mirrors would have folded just because it knew it was a tight zone there.
I've never had my mirrors involuntarily, automatically.
Yeah, it will in certain tight scenarios. It takes a really tight scenario to do it, and it's usually much more controlled with very good visibility. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking through this fence just for a little bit of traffic indication, so I just don't give it a complete wide open one, which we all know it can do fairly well. All right, let's see how this works. There's the NHTSA stop sign, stop. National Highway Transportation Safety Administration required that. And another scenario where it's going to have a good medium gap, actually a very large gap here. It might be my voice activation that sometimes kills it. But that one was pretty easy because it didn't need to stop in the median. A good sized gap here. Now here, of course, is all the traffic I probably should have waited for.
So with all your tracking, do you ever track the odds of high traffic versus low? 60% of the time, it's a fairly easy crossing, or 80% of the time?
Traffic density is such a subjective word. You know, consistent, slow, steady traffic is easier than random, some fast, some slow. You know, rush hour is definitely the hardest. But no, I don't have any measurements on that. You know, I guess I could probably be qualifying low, medium, high traffic density.
Well, when I saw how you were quantifying everything with the beehives, I thought, well, maybe he's doing that here too.
Yeah. You know, I try to leave some of these quantifications up to the viewers or the people that watch it or the Tesla engineers that watch the video for them to assess, because obviously my experience makes me subjective. Someone less experienced driving this is going to feel completely different about the exact same scenario. Sure. And just let the film speak for itself. Some people get really upset, of me making a comment about the car should have gone or it shouldn't have gone or something like that, because everyone drives differently. Here I'm in my mid 50s. I'm perhaps a little bit more conservative of a driver than maybe I was when I was much younger. And I get a lot of comments from folks that perhaps are in that phase of life, and will even say, "You're in a Tesla. You could have made that." And I'm like, okay. FSD does not use its Tesla nature with performance capability with FSD. It's just one of the things it won't do. It doesn't have the ability of an escape maneuver or anything like that. Like if it realizes it made a mistake, it just kind of continues doing what it was doing. I've never seen it go, "Oh gosh, that wasn't a good decision," and try to bail out of a bad decision. All right. We'll see what we did this time. And it's wide open to the left. And now this is going to be interesting. It's going to stop in the median and wait. And what it's been doing is waiting on all 3 lanes. 1, 2, 3, and now it should jump.
Bingo. Yeah.
And look, it went to the left lane.
Into the left lane.
Yeah.
Was it because of the pause? Was it because of the view?
Yeah.
I don't know all the time, but
Interesting.
that is the probabilistic nature of using neural networks for decision making. It's not heuristic and deterministic of every single time it does the same thing. It's environment based.
So was this the loop that the Tesla dealer plates were doing? Just over and over the same loop that we're doing right now?
This is definitely the one they started with back in April on version 1069. This is the one that I caught them on film a few weeks ago, testing what I'm assuming was version 12.
I saw that one, yeah.
And, there's a different intersection that they've also been doing. And we can run down and do that one real quick if you're interested, just to get it on film. And you'll see
Is that the one with the office building?
No, it's just a few blocks down. But the difference is the visibility is much more wide open because it doesn't have that fence. And the turn is also on the other side of this stoplight. So you don't have the zooming to make it behavior of the drivers, right? And I think that changes the human behavior of the drivers that we're avoiding just by the geometry of the intersection. And a lot of people ask, and since we're going through a red light here, I'll mention it up. Why in the world would you do this unprotected left turn right here when there's a stoplight right there? And in the 30 years I've lived here, there have been more accidents at this stoplight than that turn, because if I've got a green light right now, but somebody runs this red light, I'm giving away my decision-making capability to the stoplight. And over time, that's where most people have been killed, is at that intersection.
Yeah, old ladies, right?
And anybody distracted with a phone or not looking up, or
Old men. Yeah, it's a lot of old drivers.
and most of the people that get in accidents aren't people running red lights. It's people inadvertently not knowing it was a red light and just going through it obliviously. If somebody's gunning it to make a red light, they're usually purveying the ground here. Okay, so this intersection here, we're going back out at almost the exact same geometry to cross, but if you see, there's no fences, and I have seen Tesla doing this intersection also. So we've got it engaged. I'll just show you a little bit of the different geometry. So it maps it the same on the screen, but you see how I can look through this tree here at the stop sign? I can see traffic.
Right.
It's still going to creep the same distance, but can you see how this side of the stoplight, the behavior of the drivers might be different?
Sure. They've made the light.
They've made the light, they're not going to goose it, or perhaps the light also would create a gap that might not have been there. Now we do have 2 opposing cars on the opposite side that will have the right of way if we don't take it. Okay, they didn't take it, and we're going to go all the way with a nice aggressive boost
Left-hand lane.
And the left-hand lane. Yeah.
So do you know what the DMV rule is on something like this, or guidance?
We've talked about it on the internet a lot, and it seems to be state to state, and I don't think there's a law that say you should go in here, but a lot of people have said, well, my driver's ed teacher said I had to. So there's a lot of maybe best practices that people have adopted, but I don't think there's a law that says when there's not a dedicated merge lane like there is on a highway, when it's just 3 open lanes, that requires it. And I guess I kind of get that, because there could be scenarios where going into the middle lane would be safer if there was a really fast car speeding in this lane. But how Tesla is going to program that, in version 12, and maybe that's why the ADAS drivers are out here, is just getting hundreds of clips doing it the right way. When you train something with end-to-end, all you can do is show it.
Now, have they surfaced any indication of how many examples you have to get to retrain?
On the live stream that Elon did with Ashok Alaswamy in the car, Ashok made a statement that said 1 million clips makes it very good, but 1.5 million clips makes it amazing.
No, what I meant to say is to correct it.
Yeah, so he actually made another comment that said, in order to get a stop sign to stop completely, we have to ignore, I think he said 99.9%, because he said only 0.1% of people come to a complete stop.
Right.
So in order to get the clips to train it to stop, we have to go find those clips or make our own of those people that stop. And they have said statements, dirty data can create unknown results. So to answer your question, does one bad clip make everything broken, or does one bad clip just make it not as good as it could be? And that's something for the AI engineers to perhaps answer, is how clean does your data need to be? Andrea Karpathy has said many times, probably the most important piece of creating training weights is a good, clean data set, which I think, and Andre ought to know, and so should Ashok and the other team members. But, to go down version 12, Tesla is truly becoming a curating company of this data set that they have access to, in order to get the clips that they think they need to get the behavior they want. I cannot even imagine the needle in the haystack of finding an errant clip and what that task might be for this team when they have an unexpected behavior they can't explain. All right, 2 little weights here with a nice medium gap, and it should be open. And this hesitancy right here bothers me, because watch, it's going to go for it, and it shouldn't. Okay. Did you feel that?
Yeah.
It may have stopped, but if you see how far I am out here already, I didn't want to go ahead and let it go any further with you guys in the car. That nudge is why I disengaged with this oncoming traffic. Now I'm manually driving at this point. How did you feel, David, in the back?
I'm glad you took control and intervened.
Yeah. It might have stopped, but it would have been too late. And you guys got to see perfectly that latency. That was that one. That latency that I was feeling. It's like, there's your gap. Why aren't you going? And then I even was verbalizing, oh, watch, it's going to go. And then at that point, it was too late for it to finish it.
That was so interesting that they had the gap, didn't take it, didn't seize the opportunity.
Now, see, didn't take it. I'm trying to articulate, is that latency, or was it truly undecided? In my mind, it's a latency, because it sort of, I kind of knew it was going to go, but it just executed too late. And once it executes with a slow nudge into traffic like that, I can't let it really jump across. But that has changed over time. That latency in that decision making hasn't always been that way. There have been times they've had it dialed up to be very aggressive, and it can make very, very small gaps. And how they keep tweaking its behavior about what gaps to shoot for. And this truly is playing Frogger right here, right? It's got to decide, can I go all the way? Can I go 1 lane, 2 lanes? And is the traffic right?
So to go back to my earlier question, using the stop sign as the example, we don't have any sense of how many proper stops they need to get into the library to correct that, or how many Chuck's left turns they need to collect for the library to get version 12.
What we don't know is what Ashok meant by that comment. Is it 1.5 million total clips to train the entire FSDBeta 12, or is it 1.5 million stop signs to fix the stop sign situation? I don't know the answer to that, but if it is 1.5 million clips just of stop signs, that data set just has to be gargantuan.
Okay, see, I was interpreting it as 1.5 million
total.
Total to train for all training.
Okay, of which maybe 100 or so maybe stop signs,
Right.
kind of a thing. Yeah, or 200. Okay, let's make this the last one. So let's make our comments and how it goes. And let's see what kind of traffic we get. We're going to get a gimme. And it got him. Now here it's going to wait in the median. It should place itself right there. Now see how it has the left lane open but isn't taking it? Now those two cars are going to go. And it's going to jump into the left lane.
But now it takes the left lane.
See, so it's almost like it's determining all 3 lanes need to be clear before I can proceed versus understanding that, oh, 1 lane is open. Because I think it's assuming that car in the middle lane could change lanes or put his blinker on or something like that. So that's pretty much the known behavior. But well, there you go. What do you guys think?
Unbelievable.
Does video do it justice? Like, you watched a bunch of these.
It's so cool to have actually done it, see it in action, and see what one of these challenging cases, a legendary challenging case, looks like in person.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to it, and every single turn is different, and one of them succeeding is by no means success.
Right.
Because every single one gets a little bit of a different challenge. But that is the world and the environment we live in, and perhaps why the human brain is so adaptable at solving these ourselves, and to try to get the car to have that kind of experience. And I say experience intentionally because today I feel like the car drives a little bit like a 15-year-old, temporary permit driver. It doesn't have the experience to realize, how to manage gaps or traffic. And to the same point, maybe that's the million clip version that Shark was referring to. It's good, but maybe 1.5 million makes it an 18-year-old. So maybe 1 billion makes it, an experienced driver. I don't know. That's where we're going with this end-to-end concept, though.
Well, who did the video where, I think it was Dr. Know-It-All?
John Gibbs.
Yeah, he said something to the effect of, I think it was on his video, to the effect of, and they suddenly got to X million clips or X million gigabytes of data or whatever it was. I can't remember it right off the top of my head. And then it started learning on its own, and the magic began. They crossed this hurdle.
Well, there was some slides in a few of the AI presentations, and Tesla AI is posting on X quite a bit about their compute capacity and their storage capacity, and maybe he was talking about some of those graphs. I know they're going towards, I believe it's 100 exaflop capacity by the end of 2025, and the storage is in petabytes of data. I think it's important to kind of comment on what you said there about learning on its own. Because we are still the ones curating the data set, in order to go and put it into the training computer, whether it be Dojo or the NVIDIA H100 data center, we are still the ones giving it the information from which the weights attach to the models and come out with an outcome. After a drive that we just did, this car isn't going to perform any better because the model and the weights are the same.
Right.
The outcome of the environment could change it. So to get to that panacea that you were referring to, which is I think referred to sometimes as self-supervised learning, to where the weights or there are some variables on an AI model that can adjust itself over time without needing retraining, I think that's when we're getting really close to AGI, and where the acceleration of learning can no longer be controlled by humans unless we have some other mechanism of slowing it down.
Good point.
But those things are fascinating to think about, especially with Optimus the robot coming out and some other things, and how we would control these beings or bots, the car being included. Wow, it's always good to see a runner that's running a 6.5 minute mile.
Man, oh man.
She's running. Well, great.
Yeah, question for you, Chuck.
Yeah.
So on Butler, there's some construction barricades, orange cones that are like out in the middle of the lane, like the left lane as I'm headed from the beaches into town, and I had, the Rivian trying to do just basic lane keep assist and didn't recognize it. How is autopilot for unintended obstructions at speed?
It does pretty good with cones these days. There are times where if it wants to be in the left lane, but the cones are perhaps keeping it in the right lane, and there's a large gap in cones, there are sometimes it'll try to go over in between them.
Right, and you know what I'm talking about, where you have unpainted and painted lines
Yeah.
that are overlapping, and clearly there's confusion with.
I'll say it's getting better, but the car can definitely get confused. And there's a lot of video clips of the way construction zones are configured or set up, on how it honors the cones or how it tries to fight the planner trying to get me over a different lane. You know, it's definitely an area you can trip it up for sure, especially if the navigation system wants to get somewhere that the cones won't allow you. It'll keep trying to get over if there's an opportunity. It doesn't know how to map around that. And that's where I think real-time map data or crowdsourced map data, such as Waze or other tools that have more real-time scenarios, will allow the planner to just go around that or realize I need a detour now versus have the AI planner figure it out. Last minute comments, what did you guys think?
That was great. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Epic.
All right, guys.
Like my first trip to Lambeau.
Thanks for joining. Leave comments below. We'll talk to you later.